Open the podcast bay door as hell.
Hello everyone and welcome to episode 141 of Welcome to Geektown. I'm your host, Kurt Onstead. I've been a proud geek all my life, being into role-playing games, board games, sci-fi, fantasy, and especially superheroes and comics. And I want to help others join me in those pursuits, but I've found that sometimes people can get overwhelmed or feel left out because they don't already have what some consider the requisite knowledge to be considered a fan. And that's where Welcome to Geektown comes in. Here you can ask your questions without feeling like a gatekeeper is calling you out for not yet being fully versed in every aspect of your new interest. A belated Merry Christmas to all who celebrate and other happy holidays to everyone else. I had planned on this episode going up Christmas Day, but I got distracted by the holiday revelry. However, being only a day past Christmas, I thought it only fitting that I continue my annual tradition of looking at Santa Claus in comics. However, before I get there, this also means it's the last episode of the month, and so it's time to shout out all my patrons, who continue to contribute to the show, which helps keep it running. My sincere gratitude goes out to Justin Bailey, Lily Breen, Jesse Clark, Ricky Garvin, Rob Garrison, Aaron Woodward, Aaron Borst, Carla Hoffman, Lyndon Onstead, Julio Herrera, and Matthew Saint. Remember, it's just $1 per month to join in and get this monthly shoutout, as well as audio outtakes and full scripts of every written episode. If you're enjoying the show, why not go to patreon.com/welcome to Geektown and chip in. Now, as I said earlier, we're once again diving into appearances by Old St. Nick in comic books. Specifically ones where the book is not normally holiday themed. So books like Jingle Bell, about the daughter of Santa, aren't part of this particular topic. I've already covered Santa's appearances in Marvel and DC, so it's time to branch out of the big two and check out some of the other publishers. Now, some of the story involved this episode is not appropriate for younger children, so like my previous Santa Claus episodes, I strongly recommend skipping this one if you or anyone else listening is under the age of 13 or so. I put out the call to the rest of the citizens of Geektown to bring other appearances by Kris Kringle in comic books to my attention, and it was friend and listener Mark M., aka Mr. Wonderful, who directed me towards Savage Dragon. If you're unfamiliar with the title, Savage Dragon is written and drawn by one of the founding members of Image Comics, Erik Larsen. Unlike most of the rest of the Image Comics crew, Erik has been the sole writer and artist, with just a couple of very rare exceptions, from the first 3-issue miniseries all the way up to the present, with the 263rd issue of the ongoing series being released next week, as of this recording. Over those years, Erik has created, and in many cases later killed off, dozens, if not hundreds of characters in his own subsection of the Image Comics universe. If such a universe can be said to exist. Most Image books keep completely separate from one another and don't have crossovers or take place in the same world. Savage Dragon begins with a mysterious character being found in a field on fire. A green-skinned man with a fin on his head who is super strong and heals quickly but has no memory of his past life. It wasn't until 10 years later that we learn his full origin, which is possibly a story for another time. Dragon, as the mysterious man went on to be called, became a police officer in the Chicago PD and fought the organized crime syndicate known as the Vicious Circle, which over the years has included scores of superpowered members. Strangely enough, One of those members is Santa Claus. Or at least a Santa Claus. We first see Santa in issue number 70 of Savage Dragon in a fight against what appears to be the Easter Bunny in the Vicious Circle's lair, while other various members watch them. Santa easily beats down his opponent, and in a splash page tells the bunny, and those of us reading as he points straight out of the panel, not to mess with Santa Claus. But to paraphrase A Christmas Story, he didn't say mess. However, the crime organization's headquarters is immediately penetrated by Mighty Man, a character who is a very obvious pastiche of the Shazam version of Captain Marvel. Check episode 26 if you're unsure who I mean. Who takes out many of the villains hanging out there, including Santa himself, as Mighty Man, who at this point was actually a woman named Chelsea Nirvana, points out that Santa did not bring the pony she had asked for as a 9-year-old girl. Santa is decapitated in this story by Mighty Man, and so you would think that would be the last we see of St. Nick in the book, but apparently Santa Claus is more of a mantle than an individual, because 3 years later, in issue number 106, while out trying to find a friend who has been kidnapped, Dragon gets recruited by an elf to take Santa's place delivering the toys. According to the unnamed elf, Santa went missing just a few weeks back, so they need someone to drive the sleigh. In exchange, the elf provides some of Dragon's friends with technology that will help locate the woman they have been searching for up until this point in the story. If you're listening and feel like that took an abrupt left turn, let me tell you, it feels just as jarring when you're reading the issue, despite the cover showing you that Dragon will eventually be flying a sleigh. Sure enough, Dragon and his family, at this point in the story he's married and has a stepdaughter and adopted a creature named Mr. Glum, go to the North Pole, and after a brief standoff with one of the reindeer, the four take off in the sleigh and start delivering presents. Even with the help of magic and the fact that only good kids who still believe in Santa are getting presents, Dragon points out that from his point of view, this will take forever to accomplish. But before he can get too bored with the repetitive task, an unknown figure on a jet-propelled glider, who we're told in caption boxes is called the Seeker, although the armored villain never speaks, attacks from above. Dragon loses both of his hands during the fight. They're fully regenerated in the next issue, thanks to Dragon's healing factor. And the Seeker's glider is destroyed, leaving him, or her, or it, to wander the snow-covered wasteland they were flying over when the fight started. We're told in another caption box that Santa was rescued from a group of terrorists by Omni-Man, the Superman analog who is the father of Invincible and will later be revealed as a villain, which allowed Santa to finish off his annual gift-giving flight. So, Santa never actually appears in this issue, but he's so tied into the story that I had to include this. The Santa Claus referenced in this story is the closest to the one that we all know and love, as opposed to the villainous first appearance, and no reference is made to that earlier tale, so it's unclear if the two are supposed to be completely different characters or what. But the official Savage Dragon wiki notes the Vicious Circle character as Santa Claus, and not someone else dressed as Santa. So however you want to mentally reconcile those two is up to you. As I mentioned before, my guess is that Santa Claus in this universe is a mantle, and that for a period of time, an evil man somehow got a hold of his power and became a villain. But the one in issue number 106 was a good man who went back to Santa's original routine. Considering how many people have taken on different heroic and villainous roles in the Savage Dragon universe, this is probably what Erik Larsen intended, although I couldn't find any confirmation or denial of that elsewhere. Unfortunately, it looks like that Santa didn't end up lasting all that long in his position, because we have one more appearance from St. Nick, and it's a sad one. In issue number 215, Malcolm Dragon, the son of the original, and now the lead character of the book after his father died, is fighting a murderous anti-hero named Dart, the niece of the woman who originally took on the codename as a heroic vigilante. I told you a lot of codenames have been taken multiple times on this world. By the time that Malcolm confronts Dart at her lair, she has taken out over a dozen supervillains and mounted their heads to the walls. Included in that grisly trophy collection are both the Easter Bunny and Santa Claus. Perhaps down the line we'll see a new Santa show up in the pages of Savage Dragon. Eric Larson certainly shows no sign of slowing down or stopping anytime soon. If this piqued your interest and you think you might like some comics that have the pacing of 60s era Marvel comics, where a bunch of stuff happens in each issue, but with a more modern art and writing style, and a whole lot more violence, then Savage Dragon might just be the book for you. I enjoyed it a lot as a teenager, although eventually it became just a bit much for me personally. But if it sounds like it's up your alley, then you do you. No one here is going to tell you what you should and shouldn't like. Now, there are plenty of other Santa appearances in comics for me to get to in upcoming years. If you have a favorite you want to hear covered, or one you saw the cover for but weren't able to learn what was inside, send me an email to point me towards them for next year. In the meantime, I'm always looking for more topics and questions from listeners to discuss the rest of the year. Please send all questions and comments to me via email at welcometogeektown, all spelled out, @gmail.com. Or you can go to the website, welcome to, the number 2 in this case, geektown.com, and click the Submit a Question link if you'd prefer to remain anonymous. Other contact options include facebook.com/welcometogeektown or Twitter @geektownpodcast. I've also joined Mastodon. You can find me there at welcometogeektown @mastodon.social. Also, if you'd like to support the show directly, why not become a patron at patreon.com/welcometogeektown for just $1 per month to get access to full scripts of the shows, audio outtakes, and a monthly shoutout. You can also help the show grow by subscribing and giving a 5-star review over on Apple Podcasts to join the Geektown City Council, which helps other people find the show so we can all tell them, welcome to Geektown, population, us. Welcome to Geektown is written, narrated, edited, and produced by me, Kurt Onstead. Theme music is by Aaron Levitz, logo art by Archie Santana. All of their sound clips are the copyrighted material of their respective owners, and no infringement is intended, falling under fair use.